Today I'm going to be playing with what might be the most beautiful cool toned smoky shadow palette that I've seen in years. This is the new Moira Celestial Chic Palette. This is part of their Celestial Palette series. They have 3 new palettes, but this one really caught my eye because it just looks so different than the shadow stories that we're getting from other brands. This is a 15 shade palette that consists of silvers, taupes, and bluish grays. The brand sent me this palette last month. I've been dying to dig into it. And today I'm not going to show you one look. I'm not going to show you 2 looks. I'm going to show you 3 different looks you can achieve with this Moira Celestial Chic palette. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Miranda. This channel is dedicated to budget beauty. If that sounds like your vibe, hit subscribe. First, some quick facts about the Celestial Chic palette before we get into the looks. This is $18.50, but I do have a 15% off code. That will bring this to just over $15. The code is /beauty15. My code used to just be /beauty. They added the 15 at the end of it. It's kind of annoying. It is what it is. I think also if you just click my link in the description, it should auto apply the code, whatever it is. So we do have this classic Moira box style packaging. The palettes are a little chunky from Moira, but they do make it a very beautiful packaging experience. Now I will say, most of the shades in this palette are shimmers or glitters, but we have just enough staple matte shades to really balance out your looks, add definition. Here are the swatches of all the shades in the palette because we might not get to every color today. And honestly, Moira hits it out of the park with their shadow formula every single time. They do not miss. The mattes are pigmented and super creamy. The glitters are incredibly high impact and go on almost completely opaque. Now, when I unboxed this palette for the first time, I looked at the shades and I was like, wow, this is gorgeous, but I could really only see myself wearing really bold and dramatic looks with these colors, which inspired the idea for this video. I want to show you 3 different levels of smoky eye looks you can achieve with this palette, starting with a little bit more of a subtle vibe, which is what I'm wearing right now, going all the way to a more bold and dramatic smoky eye. So let's get into the first look, and don't forget to thumbs up this video if you want to see more palette demos and eyeshadow tutorials like this. For today's looks, I'm going to be using the Moira Waterproof Peptide Eyeshadow Primer. This is $9.99 or cheaper with my discount. This primer is really interesting. I feel like it does best on drier eyelids that still experience creasing because it's a very thin and hydrating formula. It contains peptides and vitamin E, and it helps your shadow stay on and stay vibrant. Now for this first look, I want to do a more wearable, soft smoky eye. I'm going to start with the Ava shade, and I'm applying that in the outer portion of my crease, blending softly upward. And I'll blend that slightly outward toward the tail of my brow for a bit of a flare. I want this to be a softer look that maybe isn't necessarily like an everyday office look, but showing that you don't always have to go full glam with this palette. So that is where we're at. For the most part, the lid is still very bare and the color is mostly concentrated in my crease in that outer portion. Next, I'm going into the Cosmic Cloud shade. This is one of the glitters that is more of a cool champagne, and I'm going to lightly pat that at the center of the lid. It's actually a little bit of a challenge to apply Moira shadows subtly because they are so pigmented, they are so high impact. So I'm keeping most of the pigment in the center, and then taking an eyeshadow brush, I'm going to blend out from the center, corner to corner. So this will help spread out that pigment and make it not as opaque of a metallic layer, because I do want to see my lid underneath, and it's still going to stay strongest towards the center, almost giving us a halo eye look, but there will be more of a topper effect everywhere else, just for a softer, more ethereal appearance. I'm loving it. Honestly, I could have gone even lighter with how much I applied in the center for a softer look. And this is what I want to recommend also because I often get comments when I use shimmery eyeshadows from y'all saying that you love the look, but you're not sure how it would translate onto more mature lids. Doing this technique, but maybe applying just a little bit less than I did today, can give you that shimmery appearance without the opaque sort of metallic finish that often accentuates lines on the lid. It's really about blending it out for more of that topper effect versus trying to get that solid glitter layer. So try it out. You might like it. You might be surprised. Okay, from here I'm just gonna blend a bit upwards so that way there's not just kind of a line where the shimmer stops. Next, I'm going to take a black eyeliner pencil to give a base to my smoky wing. This is the Essence Stay and Play Gel Eyeliner, my go-to. I'm actually going to pick the liner up on an angled eyeliner brush instead of applying it directly to my lid. I'm pressing that really close to the base of my lashes, only going in about halfway, and then dragging out a tiny little wing. Now the wing doesn't have to be perfect or sharp because I am going over this with eyeshadow. This is just sort of my base layer. I'm just sort of creating a blueprint for that wing in the liner, which gives the shadow a little bit something to stick to. So that's about as much as I'm doing with the eyeliner. And you might even find that after this step, maybe that's where you want to stop because it is a softer appearance. I am going to just darken up this wing a bit with the Moira shadow, but this looks great too. Now I'm going to dip into Voltage, which is this matte black, and I'm going to stamp that right over where I applied the liner and follow the wing. I kind of want the point to sort of fade into nothing, so just a soft hand as I flick it upward, like that. It looks so cute. Now just to marry everything together, I am going to blend the liner out just a smidge with a dark gray. I'm going to use Forbidden, and you can use your small angled brush. I'm just going in with a really small eyeshadow brush. And with this, I'm just going to softly blend the top edge of the liner. I really want to get it soft and smoky. So I blend back and forth, and then I'll kind of pull it upward. And I just feel like this makes it look a little more cohesive. And it also makes the black liner a little less harsh, a little less stark. Now, when you're toward the outer corner and the tail of your liner, when you blend upward, try to blend it sort of in to the outer corner of your lid. Now, even though this is a smoky liner look, you still want the bottom of your wing to look pretty clean. So if you feel like it sort of becomes smudgy and you've lost that crisp edge at the bottom, you can use something like a beauty swab with micellar water and just run it along the edge there. You can also take a wipe. This is actually just a normal baby wipe. It's not even a makeup wipe, and wrap it around your finger and just run it along the edge there, and that'll clean up the bottom. A baby wipe cleaning up the bottom. Well, that's what they're designed to do, right? Let me add mascara to show you the final effect. To top this look off, I'm using the L'Oreal Paradise Big Deal Mascara. Kind of like how this eyeshadow looks paired with a more light and fluttery lash. And on my lips, I'm going to apply the Moira Lip Appeal Waterproof Lip Liner in On Point. This is like a Your Lips But Better shade for me. So when I don't necessarily want to wear a noticeable lip color, but I want to just add definition to my lips, this is a great option. And I'm going to top that with the Physicians Formula Diamond Lip Oil. So here is the first Celestial Chic palette look, a little bit more on the subtle side. Of course, that's subjective, but in terms of the looks I'm doing today, this is the subtle option. I will also list everything else that I used on my face today in the tagged product section and in the description. Just realized my microphone was not plugged in this entire time. I'm sorry if the first part of this video was really annoying to listen to, but the show must go on. I feel like I've done a decent job cleaning up after the last look. It can be kind of difficult just restarting your eye makeup and trying to keep the rest of your face intact. There have been a couple times, like in real life, not while filming, where I'm getting ready to go out and my eye starts watering and it ruins my eye makeup, or maybe my makeup's just not coming out how I planned it to, and I've had to try to just restart the eyes, and it is annoying. I'm always like this close to canceling plans every time that happens. All right, let's get into look number 2, a more mid-toned smoky eye. Gonna go ahead and reapply the Moira eyeshadow primer. Now, considering how many times I'm doing my eyeshadow in this video, I do think that the vitamin E in this formula is going to keep my lids from getting really angry at me. To start off this look, I'm gonna dip into Ava, which is our medium matte gray. And that is gonna be my transition shade. So I'm putting that in the crease and blending softly upward. And I am bringing this a little bit farther in than I did with the last look, but I'm really not trying to get into that inner third of my lid. I've talked about this before, but I try to keep my crease shades out of the inner corner because the way that my brows have sort of, I don't like the word drooped, just settled on my face as I've gotten older. They're definitely lower toward the center, and I don't need to add any more shadow. My brows are already adding the shadow in that area for me. And keeping color away from the inner corner besides lighter shades helps my brows look more lifted. Next, I want to deepen up the outer corner with this darker matte gray called Forbidden. I'm going to focus that on the outer corner and work it a little bit into the crease, but only in that outer third portion. And I think I want to keep the edges of this look a little more diffused and blurry. So I'm not going to be keeping it sharp at the bottom like the previous look. So I really want to try to keep this blend soft, diffuse the color, no harsh edges. I really like the small blending brush. What is it from? Oh, it's an Alter Ego brush. This is their 204. I really like the shape. It's just the perfect size for my crease. You know, when I was first kind of getting started with makeup in my early 20s, I would always use like these huge domed blending brushes for everything, my crease, my outer corner, etc. But now I can really only use brushes like this for bare brush blending, like without any color on them, because they just spread color out so much if I have shadow on this that my current lid space cannot support how much this spreads color. Major, major difference. This one can just get in there with a little more precision. And I do have an Alter Ego coupon code that is, I believe, 10% off. But using this clean blending brush will also help soften the outer portion. Okay, I'm really excited to dip into one of these bluish silvers. I'm having a hard time between these three, so why don't I just put them on my fingers? This first one is Silver Moon. That is so beautiful. This second one is Night Star. Ooh, that's like a charcoal navy. And finally we have Starla. Ooh, I think that's the one I want to use for this look. And I'm gonna use Night Star in the next look for something a little more bold. Again, tapping this on with my fingers, I just find with these really soft, shimmery shades that kind of gets the most color payoff. This is such a pretty blue. It's kind of like an elevated version of the frosty blue shadow that I think a lot of people have written off as a dated look, because, you know, you think of frosty blue eyeshadow, you think of like the 80s or the early 90s. But one, we're seeing a lot of old beauty trends come right on back recently. And two, this formula, it gives off that sort of icy vibe, but it's not like a crunchy metallic, if that makes sense. It's almost in between a satin finish and a metallic finish, because you obviously get the super high impact reflective finish, but it's soft. It's not accentuating my lid lines, because I do have lid lines and lid texture, and a very traditional metallic shadow will not look good on me. I'm just gonna blend that shade into the outer corner shade a bit, blending right over where they meet. So far with these shades, I'm not seeing a ton of fallout. I mean, I'm trying to be pretty intentional when I pat on the eyeshadow and not really swiping it, more patting and blending that way. Yeah, only really a couple of specks. Not to worry. I'm gonna highlight in my inner corner with Lynx. And this is a tip that I learned from one of you, and I really wish that I had saved the comment, because this is probably one of the best tips I've learned from a subscriber. When I used to highlight my inner corner, I used to go like outside of the tear duct or just like in the tear duct, because that's how I was taught via other beauty creators on YouTube. But my eyes are pretty close to the bridge of my nose, thanks to my deviated septum. And I always just thought that it looked kind of weird and made my eyes look even closer together. Plus, because I do have natural creasing under my eyes, it just always looked messy. And one of you all commented to highlight my inner corner, but keep it on top, like keep it on the lid, right above the tear duct instead of like in or around the tear duct. And game changer, like I was able to get that highlighted, opened up inner corner highlight without the downsides that I felt like I was seeing on my eye shape and skin texture. So not only did I love how that just kind of solidified the community here because y'all learn from me, I learn from you, I love it. But also I think it's a good example of like when you see something demoed on YouTube by a creator and you're like, oh, this doesn't work for me. Like makeup is just not a one size fits all type of practice. I am loving this look. So I did get a little bit more fallout with this inner corner shade, and I do think that has to do with brush application. You know, it's a little bit looser than when you pack it onto your finger and dab it on. But I am loving how this is looking. I'm gonna go ahead and get some liner on that upper waterline. And then for my lash line liner, I'm gonna go straight into the matte black Voyage shade. I'm not going to use the pencil this time. And I'll stamp that really close up against my lashes. I really just wanna make this sort of outer corner look thicker and more defined without creating like a winged liner look. And then just softly blend upward, just kind of pushing that shadow and diffusing the line. And you know what? I think I want to do this on the bottom lash line too, which is another thing that has been deemed dated, adding liner or shadow to the bottom lash line or underneath your eyes. And you know, I think there are some ways that it's done that can drag down the eye, but I really like how it looks if you're just really stamping it into your lashes in the outer portion. It just gives you this really full, dense lash look. So keeping that very soft, not adding a ton. Ugh, I love, love, love how this came out. I feel like this is a good Goldilocks smoky eye because we haven't gone like all the way black and you know, smudgy, but we're definitely one step up on the glam meter from the last look. All right, let's get some mascara back on my lashes. Again, using the L'Oreal Paradise Big Deal mascara, but I am going to build it up a little more this time. That's one thing I really like about this mascara. It is pretty versatile. Like you can just put on a very thin layer and get a light wispy look, but it does easily build up to a more dramatic appearance and it stays clump free as you build it up. Now, with that said, if you missed my review of this product and wear test, I would highly suggest you watch it because, you know, there's all these influencers out here doing the 100 layers of mascara challenge with this and proving like how well it builds up. And while it does look beautiful, you know, however many coats you want to put on, the more you build it up, oh, I have like a loose eyelash. Look at that rogue eyelash. The more you build it up, the more you do risk flaking, just like any mascara really. And if you build it up so high that it ends up touching your brow bone, you will get transfer. So that's the Cliff Notes version of my review. But other than that, now that I've kind of like figured out where the sweet spot is in terms of building this up, I have enjoyed using it. Now, just with mascara, I think this look is still very much glam, but if you wanted to put on fake lashes, that would just take it up one more notch. Again, still not too heavy or like grungy smoky looking because I did stick to more of the gray tones, and this bluish silver just brings it home. I absolutely love the pop of color. This is definitely the type of smoky eye that I tend to gravitate toward. All right, for the last time, let's put on the Moira eyeshadow primer. I was a little less meticulous removing the last look. I can see there's still a bit of black liner just because we are going kind of dark and heavy for this last look. It's okay if it doesn't start out as a super clean slate. Because I'm going to be doing a lot of blending, I do want to set my primer using Apollo. Let's go into Ava for the crease transition shade. I'm just blending that lightly. I'm not going to build that up too much since I want that to be what our darker shades fade into. Next, I'm dipping into Forbidden, the dark gray matte, and I'm gonna apply that to like the outer half of my lid. So bringing that in the outer corner in the crease, but also sweeping it over half of my lid, softening it up once we get to that halfway point. And that's where that base shade comes in. So that way, you know, there's something to blend it into and it's not just kind of stopping abruptly, which is what it would look like if I had just put this over the primer itself. Next, we gotta dip into Night Star. I'm gonna put that over the gray, but keeping it out of my outer corner. Yes, It is just this beautiful blue, smoky navy. It's almost black. Now I am getting fallout. Typically, if I was doing a look like this with these darker shades and the darker shimmers, I would do my eyes first. But because of the format of this video, I wanted to have my whole face done. Or another thing that you could do that I could have done if you do your face makeup first is put down a lot of setting powder, like an exorbitant amount of setting powder as if you were baking your under eyes, and that'll catch most of your fallout, and then you can wipe it away. Your under eyes will be set and you won't have any glitter stuck to your foundation. Now with a blending brush, I am going to blend that shade into my outer corner. The reason why I didn't want to put it in my outer corner with my finger is because my fingers are a little chubby. This also gives me a little more control with how much I'm pulling into my outer corner, so that way I can blend it in with those other shades without overpowering and covering them completely. And then I'll also blend that inward, but leaving about the inner third of my lid bare, or not bare because we have that base shade, but not bringing this dark color all the way in. I'm also going to bring Night Star on my lower lash line. For the inner corner on this look, I'm going into Cometina. This looks like a straight up molten silver. This is my happy shadow dance. It's just so pretty. So I'm bringing that up into my crease in the inner corner, basically at the edge of my eye socket, and then I'm going to fade it more softly and have it end in the middle of my crease. I'll just use my finger to soften the transition between the two shades. I just love that really strong highlight going all the way up the eye socket. I'm gonna do the same liner technique as the first eyeshadow look, picking up the Essence Stay and Play liner on an angled brush. This time I'm only using the black shadow though. I'm not gonna go back in with the gray over it because that's not going to show up over this dark gray. Now, I'll admit this look would be very well complemented with false lashes, but considering everything I've put my lids through today, I think I'm gonna spare myself. I will go ahead and add black liner to my upper waterline though. And for the last time, applying the Big Deal mascara. I'm gonna reapply a little bit of that lip oil. I think this lip combo actually worked with all of the looks. Just something on the more neutral side, so that way the eyes can take center stage. And here's the third and final look, a bold smoky eye option you can achieve with the Moira Celestial Chic Palette. You know, taking a closer look, I actually think this is a black shadow base with navy shimmer. It's beautiful. After seeing all three looks, what are your thoughts on the new Moira Celestial Chic Palette? Can you see yourself working this into your routine? And also tell me in the comments, which was your favorite look? I am so excited about cool tones kind of making their way back into mainstream trends. And aside from the color story, the pigmentation and the formula at this price is kind of insane. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. If you want to keep watching, join me over in this video next where I put new makeup to the test up against my current favorites. I'll see you over there. Bye.